wait for someone to open the door.
Kirk, get out of there! Red alert!
Fuck you, stupid. So I used to realize my potential.
I regret that we meet in this way. You and I are of a kind.
You heard it up top. We're back with kind of a special one. We're going to be talking 3 different TV finales. We're talking Strange New Worlds. We're talking The Boys. We're talking Stranger Things here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, the Captain Colin Kirk.
I guess it'd be Mikey Munson.
I was going to say, you kind of took mine, Colin. I was going to say Captain Cobb, because that could be either a Starfleet captain or that could be my superhero name in The Boys.
That's true.
I wanted to do something with the deep, but nothing came to mind. I'll just say that.
On the boys' side of things, I almost went with, Michael's Milk, but I don't like that at all.
Oh,
I don't like that.
I do like it.
MM, right. Let's look at MM with Mikey Munson. So we can go with MM, and it covers both of those things.
There you go.
Yeah.
Metallica Mike, we've got it all here. Because normies, we are, like we said, taking a trek to space, shooting up in Vought Tower, and then heading over to the Upside Down on this episode, too. We got a ton of TV finales. We've been talking, we have a million, solo episodes of all this stuff, but somehow we have managed to do a third Star Trek Strange New World episode. So we got you, normies.
Yeah.
Suckers.
Just what you wanted.
The backdoor pilot to only Strange New Worlds podcast. We're tailoring off.
Yeah, Mike's spinoff where he just talks about how it's his favorite show that's ever been made ever.
Yeah, debuted in season 2 Discovery, and then I get my own show. But Colin said off pod, we got a bit of a strange sandwich, with the Strange New Worlds, and the boys are the meat, and then the breading, as it were. It's the strangeness. So
yeah. I call it Stranger New Boys.
Stranger
the title we're going to
New
go
Boys.
with.
Stranger New Boys.
I love
Stranger
it.
New Boys.
Well, we did our 200th episode last week to catch up anybody who didn't listen to that. And it was kind of a big Whatcha recap. And then we realized, holy crap, in addition to Stranger Things, which was over 4th of July, it's like there's 2 really big finales this coming weekend. So we're like, let's just do, episode 200, part 2, 201, the finale. Stranger New Boys, I guess. Right. So that's where we are now.
Like Netflix, Umbrella Academy, just crying, weeping in the corner, going, "When will I get my own episode?" And we go, "No. Again, we're doing more of all the other stuff."
I might talk about you on the wrap up if you're lucky, Umbrella. Behave yourself, But
right. But it was a big week for finales and TV, so we wanted to talk about all the new developments in those last episodes of the season.
Probably one of the biggest weeks for TV, at least for us personally. I think
shows that
things have fallen in our wheelhouse, so we're like, we're just going to jump into it. So it's pretty momentous. I say we just jump right into it. Let's go and go boldly where no man has gone before. Strange New Worlds finale coming up next.
Hit it.
We're back. We're talking Trek. Once again, our favorite topic here as we do what we promised. We bring you the finale of Strange New Worlds, the newest entry to Star Trek, a show we've lauded, applauded, any other word you want.
We love it.
We love
to see it.
Mm-hmm. I love it to a factor of warp 10. That's how much I love it. Yeah.
And they can't even go that fast yet.
They were talking about warp 9, like they were pushing it at warp 9, but you can't go to 10, theoretically. So that's the nerd stuff. But we did get
a lizard monster.
That's what exactly. I forgot about that. But so Strange New Worlds, we talked about it last time. We love the show, obviously, but we did get the finale. So maybe we'll focus the discussion kind of on that finale and the way everything wrapped up. But we get an interesting episode here, right? It's kind of an alternate take on a classic original series episode, right?
We do. We should say, Mike, there are 2 versions of you here this week. There is you, and then there is the version of you from the Time Crystal future that is just like a little beeping box, Mike. So,
yeah. That's he's not as
what do you think
engaging of a host. Beep.
What's your take on this episode?
We need to be yes and no only. Do you like this show? Beep. Yeah. But it's classic Trek episode. Jacob, fill us in.
It's a very interesting episode, one that I really liked. And So if you don't know, it's basically an alternate retelling of the original series episode Balance of Terror, which is the first episode where you see the Romulans. They reveal the Romulans. You get the whole, oh, Spock, why do you look like those guys? And it's amazing the level of detail that they, paid attention to in this episode, where it's like, whole lines of dialogue in certain scenes are being taken from this episode. Camera shots, the way they light the scene, like the musical cues, like it's all like it reminds me a lot of the DS9 episode Tribbles and
Trials and Tribulations.
Trials and Tribulations, which was where they kind of go back in time to the Tribbles episode of the original series, and they blend the footage in with them. And it's just a great homage to the original series.
Yeah, and basically this is kind of highlighting, Colin was alluding to the time crystals from the future, and we get the maroon monstrosity, the giant, original series era uniforms, and looks
movie
great.
Era.
So we get Pike from the future, and essentially
we get a little fashion Trek update. Yeah, Mike, we get some Admiral Pike.
Admiral Pike looking good in that maroon uniform for sure, which lines up with the movie era stuff that we've been covering on the show. But it's essentially to highlight, we know he knows his fate. So it's what would happen if he somehow escapes his fate. And so what if Kirk was commanding the Enterprise during that moment? Pike instead of Kirk, which we do get to see Kirk here.
Balance of Terror. Yes.
Which is a big deal. We get to see our new actor for Kirk.
That's right. Surprise to me, because I had read that, he was being cast for season 2. I don't know if you guys knew it beforehand, but when he showed up, I was like, holy shit, there he is.
Yeah, I had no idea that he was going to be in this episode. And this is Paul Wesley's first seat in the captain's chair. And again, we're setting up the difference in command style between a Captain Pike and a Captain Kirk, which I like very because originally Kirk felt to me, or Pike was feeling to me like a Kirk type when the show first started. But now, after this especially, I see the kind of delineation.
So this whole episode is about the difference between Pike and Kirk, right? It's basically we love Pike, but his sort of tendency to try to find diplomacy, before using action.
You flinch.
We see that, it hurts him here, because the entire point of this is
quality of mercy.
Yeah, if Pike was in control during these events, it would lead to a huge war between the Romulans and the Federation. Millions of people would die. And he's the guy that we like, and we like his captaining style. But it's just interesting that's what this show is saying, basically.
He has to end up in the chair to stop interstellar war. It's the way it has to be, unfortunately. And, we don't want him to go there, but it makes him an interesting captain because he's the only one who does know his fate. We had an emissary in Deep Space Nine, but this guy knows where he's going, and now he's got to kind of, at least for now, live with the fact that there's no getting out of it.
And it all comes down to the big decision where the timeline split, basically, is like, so they have a meeting, right, at the conference table with all the officers, and they're like, what should we do? Spock gives this whole speech about how I think we should attack, because if the Romulans are split off from the Vulcans many years ago, they're probably, we had our savage warlike period, they're probably like that, so we should attack. The big difference, if you watch Balance of Terror, Kirk listens to him, they attack, and they win. Pike doesn't attack, and he says, let's try diplomacy first, and that's the big split in the timeline. So it's very interesting to see that the more kind of gung-ho Kirk, flying by the seat of his pants, attacks, and that ends up being the right decision.
It is interesting, especially when it's like you would think the Starfleet thing is always diplomacy, and it's an interesting message. I mean, Colin, what do you think about that? This kind of Kirk Pike captaining style, and pros and cons of those.
Yeah, and like you said, Jacob, clearly the intent of this episode was, if we show them together, we show the distinctions. We can really separate in your mind. We're getting a little too close, you think, all season long. I loved it. I love the episode, obviously. Just performance-wise, I'm not familiar with Vampire Diaries. I don't know any of this guy's work. It was an interesting take on Kirk for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, it's he's definitely more different from Shatner than Ethan Peck is from Nimoy as Spock.
Yes.
Like he's playing it much closer to this guy Paul Wesley is putting his own spin on it, and I don't know if it's totally working yet, but maybe he needs more time to sort of get into the role.
Both the takes, other than Shatner's, Chris Pine's, and this Paul Wesley's, have been like, well, I'll just get as far away from it as possible. I really kind of expected the impression here. And then better podcasts have said this than me, but people bring up the story of Chris Pine hosted SNL, and they did a classic Star Trek skit. It became apparent he can just do the Shatner impression. And if you remember when that movie was originally developed, it was going to be Matt Damon and Adrian Brody as Spock, and they were literally going to do one for one. So I like the Chris Pine take. This I was kind of hoping for a little more. I kind of wanted the delivery style. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, more indebted to the Chris Pine interpretation of the role, right? I thought it was interesting how in this alternate timeline, obviously he's not the captain of the Enterprise because Pike is. He's now the captain of the Farragut, right? And we kind of see him. He's the same age that he would be if he was captaining the Enterprise, but he's a little bit less experienced because he's not on the flagship of the Federation.
Oh, that's true.
Here's the only thing I'm thinking about this entire episode is him coming off the transporter, hugging his brother, who's a science officer, wearing a blue outfit now. And just because we've been doing the movies, I'm thinking, like, did a young David Marcus know that, like, at least Kirk's brother enjoyed science, or that like a little bit of like his interesting family tree? That's just like where I'm at.
What did David know
Maybe
about?
His mom told him.
Yeah, who knows?
But I actually like Sam Kirk as a character so far better than
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the only timeline that they've been together at the except for the beginning, I guess, of the 2009 era. But it's like classic Trek. His brother's always been killed at some point, so it's like, hey, you got them both together.
Mike, what do you think of this take on Kirk?
Again, I think we're just seeing the beginning of it, and I think he'll grow into it. It's hard because he has 60 years of weight to carry on his shoulders, and I think it's a lot. Yeah. So it's like, what do you do? Do you do the impression or do your own thing? He's clearly kind of doing his own thing.
He's kind of doing like the farm boy almost, it feels like.
Yeah, the Iowa farm boy who doesn't like to lose, as his brother says.
Yeah, it's interesting because Pike asked his brother, he's like, "Oh, can you tell me anything about him?" And the way Sam Kirk describes him, I was like, "Okay, that's pretty cool." But then when he actually shows up, I don't feel like he lives up to that description.
I think you're in trouble too when you have to put him on screen alongside Anson Mount, who has just owned this entire role.
Yeah.
It's really hard to not only be Kirk, but be Kirk next to Anson Mount's Pike. That's tough. So I'll give him some time to settle in.
Versus of not appearing on screen. I can't remember which one of you made this prediction last week that when we lost Hemmer, we would need somebody new in engineering. We got a voice performance in this episode that sounded very interesting for maybe a potential, a wee bit of a character, Jacob.
I'm an engineer, not a whatever I said, yeah. It was good. We did get the Scotty.
We're thinking that's not cast, right?
No.
Probably not. They probably just had someone voice that line, and they'll cast him maybe next season. Yeah. The other thing with Kirk is that we're seeing this alternate timeline years ahead, so he's already a captain. I think when he's introduced next season, he's going to be like a commander or a lieutenant, and he's joining Enterprise as a lower ranking officer. And eventually
Can I tell you the quote from our least favorite showrunner? He said that next season they would be exploring the origin of the friendship between Spock and Kirk.
Right.
To me, is that like what there's like a them marooned on a planet episode? I just hope we don't get too cutesy is my issue.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't become too Kirk focused because I feel like this show is about Pike and Spock. Spock's much older than Kirk because he's a Vulcan, so they live longer, kind of like elves in fantasy, right? So he's already had a lot of experience before he becomes friends with Kirk. And we've seen the Kirk-Spock relationship so many times, right? Obviously in the movies and everything.
The Batman origin, I don't need it more.
I don't need it that much here,
What's fun about this Pike show, as Strange New Worlds in general, is it is just like, what if the Cage continued, but better than the Cage? You know what I mean? Like, what if that pilot was the show? So we're exploring a bunch of strange new worlds, but if you just start doing Kirk and Spock again, then it starts to retread, and I don't like it. And this season has done a great job not retreading. Maybe bringing up tropes, but...
It's a neat trick to remake an episode one time, Mike.
Yes.
I absolutely agree with you. Let's
If they
get it out of our system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want them to get too bogged down in like referencing the original series. The way they straddled the line this season of being its own thing, but also kind of paying homage to that era of Star Trek, I think they've done a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm. And again, we're setting up a lot of cool stuff, like with the Gorn, number one being removed.
Big cliffhanger. Which
yeah.
reminded me of some, TNG used to do this where they have a big cliffhanger at the end of the season and then resolve it in the first episode of the next season. That's always fun.
Yeah, and we have, it'll be cool to see stuff like, oh, what's La'an doing on the Farragut, like later, because this is the future, so we're going 7 years back when season 2 starts, because we're 7 years ahead here. Because you see Pike studying everything he can about Kirk after his ordeal when he goes back to normal time. It's like, let me just read up on what he's doing right now, and he's pulled up the data file when Spock comes in, so he's kind of curious about where he's at.
Mm-hmm. And so, obviously this whole episode is about Pike's destiny, and obviously we have the free will to make choices that can change the future, but him knowing the future and knowing that he sort of has to sacrifice himself, because if he doesn't die, then it just somehow gets passed on to Spock, and Spock is the sacrifice, right? So
and Spock is so important in the future because he brokers the peace between Romulus and Vulcan.
So it's referencing not only original series in this episode, but TNG implications with Spock. So I thought that was great as well.
I thought they were kind of implying Kirk was part of the specialness of that too. But
True.
Jacob, for them in this, when they do sort of the autopsy Nurse Chapel of I've seen the original episode where they just say radiation burns, and they say in this 40% radiation burns. When they say brain damage and stuff too, you just go like, no.
Yeah.
He's missing a leg and stuff. It's like, you're going to be in the chair.
Yeah, it's really sad. And Nurse Chapel just
Spock.
describing it like, emotional. But
he might survive it, but he won't be the same, right? Like he might physically survive.
But her even saying, if he survives, I mean, we know that Pike could end that with, he will, and that's the tragedy of it, that he knows it's worse than death.
Because he's experienced it. And again, Spock, technically in this timeline too, is the one who saves Kelvin timeline Earth from the Romulans as well with the red matter device or whatever. So Spock is very, very important and cannot be damaged right now.
Spock is the main character
of Star Trek.
Star Trek, essentially.
Yes. You guys literally just wove 3 mythologies together.
All 3 timelines. So
I feel it crushing, man.
Yes. So I understand Pike having to shoulder that now. Like, damn, I can't. He obviously doesn't know what we know, but it's like, Spock is too important for this. And future Pike even says Spock's pretty important. We can't have this happening.
And future Pike tells him, like, of course, if you had the choice to save millions by sacrificing yourself, you would do it, right? And Pike would, but he needs to see what would happen first to make that choice, because he also wants to save that kid that he knows is going to die as well.
Yeah. Which is a great kind of conceit for the episode. And it's like a nice bow on kind of the bookends of Pike in this. Like we open it with him knowing, and he's a little torn. He has a conversation with Spock, and now it's reaffirmed.
In the Black Mirror concept, I'm sure Doctor Who has done this, or Rick and Morty or whatever, but the idea of, what if you are in the Bad Branch timeline? The meme, Jacob. What if you are in the quote-unquote the darkest timeline?
Mm-hmm.
And it has to get trimmed, and that version of you that comes back and goes, I am propelling us forward to the correction to erase myself. Crazy.
Yeah.
At least we got to see him in that uniform one time.
It should have ended with him saying, like, trust me, you don't want this Romulan war, and you don't want to deal with Khan, too. It's the worst. As he's disappearing, I would have been like, ooh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But this episode, I mean, I'm telling you, Normies, if you haven't seen it, watch Balance of Terror, because you're not going to understand just how much this episode references that episode if you don't watch it. And it's a great companion piece. And like I said, certain camera shots, the scene where they reveal the Romulans, and unfortunately for Ortegas, she kind of gets cast in the racist helmsman in the original, who's
Styles or whatever.
Like, why does Spock look like
Romulans?
Guys, huh?
Yeah, there's spies here, and that's when Kirk famously gives the speech. Leave bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on the bridge. Am I clear?
Crazy.
Right?
It's crazy.
So
he just
famous
immediately
scene.
is like, no bigotry on the bridge. But that scene in this episode when they reveal the Romulans, Ortega's turns around, the way they do the lighting, because in the original they would kind of light their eyes so you could see their eyes.
Yep. That old
I feel
TV
like
lighting.
they just really imitated that. And then the cut to Ethan Peck as Spock. He does the Nimoy eyebrow. I was
The
losing my
dolly
shit. I
in.
was
It's
fanboying
so funny.
so hard.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah.
I actually ended up watching Balance of Terror again after this because it was like, it wasn't until, oh, there's no response, Uhura. I'm like, wait, I'm recognizing this. And then the eyebrow hits, and I'm like, oh shit, we're doing Balance of Terror. And then after I watched it, and it is amazing. Whence could have called you a friend? We are of a kind. It's like all that stuff is great. So
Jacob
amazing.
keyed me into it, so I had watched it beforehand. But now, Jacob, when you just said this episode, and you keyed up to say what you just said, I thought you were going to kind of do a summation, because here was what I want to say of, we just watched the finale of this great show.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, here's what it convinced me about this entire season, and having Mike in our ear going like, this is the one. This is the Star Trek with the perfect first season that it's so good, so good. I have to take the dive. I have to get my father a Paramount Plus subscription for his birthday at the end of July here, strictly for the premise of these are 10 perfect episodes. I know now that I'm recommending something that doesn't miss.
Yeah.
It doesn't miss. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I think, your dad would probably love it.
I've been telling everybody again, I think we can get kind of wrapping up thoughts on the series as a whole here to move on to the boys in a second. But I do say again, it's the best beginner entry point for Star Trek. It's 10 great episodes.
Looks amazing.
It's the best looking Trek. It's the perfect balance between 2009, scary,
great actors.
Yeah, I love
diversity.
the cast.
Totally. And I said it before, but I'm also watching the Orville, the new season of the Orville, which is Seth MacFarlane's basically
TNG love letter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is Mike, cut Jacob's mic now. Don't let him talk.
Yeah. We're running
I
long.
just thought I would mention it because I didn't mention our big 200th episode last week, but
Sorry, that was
there's
off mic.
really two good Star Trek shows now that I would recommend. And I said it before, like, that's the TNG inspired show. This is more original series inspired, but it's not really like the original series other than this episode. It's a modern show in that time period, but it has more modern TV.
It's a modern serialized style Star Trek show.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
Whereas
also the Orville is TNG
the Orville
style.
is very much takes all its story beats from TNG, so it's kind of slower paced, more contemplative. But I gotta say, this season's been really good. And not to compare it too much to Strange New Worlds, obviously it has a lower budget on Hulu, but I say they're both worth watching if you're a Star Trek fan.
Nice.
You think Hulu's a lower budget than Paramount Plus?
Unfortunately,
I have no idea.
But they make the
subsidy
most
of Disney.
their budget, I think. And I've been impressed with several of the episodes this season. But in regards to this episode, I gotta say, it's one of my favorite Star Trek episodes ever.
That's true of any Star Trek.
Yeah. I would put it up there, with my favorite DS9 TNG episodes. And in terms of series, I would put it probably third behind those two now as my favorite.
Let's do that
Star
real
Trek.
quick. It's definitely in my top 3, maybe my top 2. It might be TNG, this Deep Space Nine. I'm not sure. It's so hard because it's so young, and it could get
Only
a lot
one
wrong
season,
next
obviously.
season. But it is guaranteed
Totally.
the
But it's
best
off to a
first
great-
season ever.
And it's the best, and it's definitely the best because obviously Star Trek notoriously they take a little time to grow into their
Skin of
what
Evil
they become,
exists
right?
in TNG season
TNG
1.
season one,
There's
not
some
that good.
stinkers. Yeah.
DS9 season 1 probably
Pretty
the worst
strong.
season of DS9.
I think DS9 is the stronger first one, but this show in general, it's great. And
Well, I just think in comparison to some of its later seasons, it's not as good. But
I'm saying
this
first season's in a bubble. DS9
Right.
was the champion until this came along. That's all.
yeah, but again, I think it comes down to if you want consistency, this is the most consistent. But it's also easier to make 10 good episodes than it is to make 26 good episodes.
Especially based on
Right.
like 200 templates that have existed, and you know what works and what didn't, and
Right.
a lot
And
of
they're just
fans
basically
complaining
riffing on
online.
tropes.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
We told you what we
But-
wanted with Sonic and Star Trek. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, it's
Or
been
else.
a rousing success. I think we can all say that. And
Yeah.
there's been a lot of articles written about how this is the best, Star Trek has been since at least 2005, right?
Yeah. I guess just to quickly highlight, I think the writing is really fantastic, and I want to say Pike might be my favorite captain now. Like, he's so close. But like one of the great things,
give my life for Captain Pike.
Right, and the writing on this, the fact that he knows his fate, and I think Memento Mori, when we're learning about the Gorn, and La'an is like, do you know what I saw on the faces of everybody that I loved when they were about to die? And then Pike's like, surprised, because he's like, I know what it looks like because I've seen myself and others die. I felt myself die, so I know what people feel when they,
And when
so
you're
the fact that he could just
dying, you don't
answer
think
her.
you're gonna die. Yeah,
And there's, like no other captain could answer that way, right? But he knew it because of, it's just really brilliant. And Pike is one of the most interesting captains, and Anson Mount owns it. And hopefully season 2, keep him coming.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Yep. Cool. Colin, any last thoughts on Strange New Worlds before we go kick it with the boys?
No, people have dug up these weird tweets that Anson Mount did against James Gunn. I think during sort of like the pedophilia allegation fight time.
No.
So I'm not sure about any of that stuff, but I love it. I love Pike. I love Strange New Worlds. Like I said, I'll get it from my dad. Or if there's even a Blu-ray or something, obviously that'd kind of maybe even be the easiest way. But I'm here, baby.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, again, just with Captain Pike, I mean, just a perfect mixture of like the diplomacy of Picard with, the more action-oriented Kirk or Cisco. I think he just blends it really well. He has great hair, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And he's everything you want in a Star Trek.
The best
captain.
chair the hair has ever seen.
Okay, Jacob, thank you for saying that. Here's the one thing I will say about the future version of that. You can tell Anson Mount is incredibly handsome. He's incredibly well built. You can tell there's a little bit of consideration of, if we're going to make him the movie version, I mean, William Shatner was so handsome on the TV show, but then he becomes
we
so
gotta make him a little
round.
fatter.
So he kind of like loses the neck a little. I just thought that was so good, dude.
Yeah. And like you say, seeing the maroon monster uniform,
it's my favorite. It's my favorite Star Trek look. I don't know what to say.
No, and seeing it on that mannequin, on that frame, it was like, oh yeah, baby.
Just a little more Romulan wine.
What a handsome guy.
Pike.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, good job, Pike. Keep it going, and also the rest of the cast. Good job, everybody. But yeah, let's go hang out with some more of the boys.
Ooh.
Right after this.
Coming up next. We're back. We're leaving outer space for an out-of-this-world comic book because Mike keeps inviting us to Herogasm. That's right. We're talking the boys.
Well, I didn't invent the thing, but I heard a lot about it.
It's Mikey Butcher.
Oh,
yeah.
Mikey Butcher.
We're talking the boys. It's Michael's milk here,
Michael's milk. Michael's milk. Quick correction. Who in our 200th episode, Jacob Laz Alonso, the actor who plays Mother's Milk. I said Lonzo Ball. I thought you'd enjoy that.
Nice.
It's like Lonzo
NBA
Ball,
player,
the actor
Lonzo
who
Ball.
plays Mother's
Basketball.
Milk, a Bulls.
Laz Alonso.
Laz Alonso.
But so yeah, in addition to Strange New Worlds ending last, I believe Wednesday or Thursday, it comes out. But then, I think it was Thursday. I watched Strange New Worlds, and then they dropped the boys finale Thursday evening as well, like 9 Pacific. So I was able to watch both of these the same day, and I thought it was incredible. We talked about how strong the season has been and the interesting dynamics. Made some predictions. I don't think any of us were right. Were any of you guys right? I wasn't.
Unfortunately,
it took
I'm
some
curious
twists and
about
turns.
Your guys' opinions. It took some twists and turns, Mike. It kind of, in my opinion, given that the last episode we saw ended with a very definitive Soldier Boy take of, "You're my son," I would have gladly stepped out of the spotlight. I seem curious to be in your life. To what we got of, well, I've got to kill this guy. Like, obviously what I'm here to do is kill this guy. Seemed very curveball-y. I don't know about you guys.
It's hard to guess Soldier Boy's intentions. They seem to change a lot, like from scene to scene.
If he's on drugs or not.
And drunk all the time. Yeah. Could be.
I thought it was interesting because, you have these two alphas, or they want to be alphas. So it's like, obviously, I don't think they could work together. Even if they agreed to do it for a short period, I don't think it would.
Godzilla
work.
versus Kong. They're
Yeah.
gonna fight eventually. Right.
Because
But the
Homelander believes
speech-
that he's the best, and not only the strongest, but the smartest.
The
He wouldn't
upgrade
wanna-
too.
Yeah.
But
he
the
wouldn't be willing
speech,
to-
Jacob, about a young boy in Philly, and it's all bullshit. And my dad owned all the steel mills, and I'm from this privileged background, and he treated me like shit. To now
Yeah.
be faced with Homelander, who is atypical in the sense of any villain, in that he truly is incredibly emotionally vulnerable. He is a guy who kind of just like opens up and like tells you what he's feeling, and has
Yeah.
his grandson there with him. It seemed I just could not get a read on anybody doing anything in that last episode. I just kind of
Well, I
nodded
think-
along to all of it.
Yeah, I think this whole show comes down to what it's really about is your family, how you were raised. Butcher, Homelander, Soldier Boy, all three characters incredibly broken, fucked up people, right?
Mhm.
And and a lot of it comes down to their fathers. They all had shitty fathers that didn't raise them well, and that kind of explains why they are the way they are, right? So they
Yeah.
have that in common.
I mean, there's even like shared trauma with, MM being affected by Soldier Boy's actions,
Yes.
affecting his family, or
The fallout of
Annie
his
having to
father.
be in the pageants and pushed out, and she was given V without consent when she was a child, right? And her parents
Yeah.
forced that on her. So everybody's kind of
Exactly.
dealing with these issues of childhood and growth. And Ryan, I guess, is the distillment
The
of that.
cycle repeating of
Right.
Soldier Boy was fucked up by his dad, so he basically abandoned Homelander, or didn't know about Homelander. But it's kind
But
of
then
clear that
Homelander
if he
didn't-
raised
Mhm.
Homelander, he would have raised him the same way his dad raised him, where you're a disappointment to me. He says that to Homelander, and
Yeah.
and now we see the cycle repeating with Ryan, who's under the influence of his father now, as we see in that last scene. So
And it is wild to see the kind of reverse empire moment where Homelander and Soldier Boy are there with Ryan. He's like, join me and we'll rule the galaxy as father and son and grandfather,
Yeah,
right?
Mike.
Because he desperately wants a relationship with a father figure. That's what Homelander wants. That's why he would bow down to Stan Edgar, because he saw it as an authoritative father figure almost.
totally.
Then when he lost
Totally.
respect for him,
Yeah.
but he still wants that, and he wants to give that to Ryan. He's just completely inept and unequipped emotionally to know how to actually do it.
And the whole season, Ryan's sort of been vacillating between these different influences, where Butcher wants to be a good influence for him, but he's also just a very fucked up person. So he
Pushes him
knows
away.
He's not the best role model, but obviously he doesn't want Homelander to raise Ryan. So it's very interesting to see how the vicious cycle repeats.
And the moral dilemma of can you raise the product of a rape, essentially, a child that should have been your child but is not naturally, and that is
Mhm.
based entirely on a woman dying saying, promise me you'll take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Homelander, or I'm sorry, Soldier Boy saying like, Homelander fucked your wife? Like, the
Yeah.
confusion he has at that moment too, it kind of really sums that up.
And when you
Yeah.
get to the very end of this episode where the shit all hits the fan, we'll break down the actual action beats, but essentially Homelander just leaves the fight with Ryan. Ryan's like, I want to go home. I want to leave now. And it's like,
get our-
that's better. Like that's a worse punishment to Butcher than killing him, is to like leave with the person he told his dead wife he would protect, right? Like that's a bigger
Right.
blow to him. And it's just crazy.
And again, to tie in the whole fathers and father figure things, we see Mother's Milk, his relationship with his daughter, where she's sort of being
stepfather.
raised by this stepfather now, who's a Homelander follower.
Man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, very interesting. And that last scene, by the way, it's been a very funny thing to see on the internet, right-wingers who identify with Homelander realizing that, oh, wait, he's the bad guy?
Are you making fun of me?
Seriously.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Since day one, you
Man.
fools.
Which I thought was brilliantly done with the, how the violence is sort of normalized, where it's like, oh, he did that. That's becoming more normalized now. It's just only going to escalate, next season.
Right.
You
And
can
the
get away
way,
with anything.
and like Stormfront even said, people like what we stand for. They just don't like the word Nazi. And it's like, man,
Yeah.
that rings so, I don't
There's a
like
lot
it.
of
I don't like
parallels with
society anymore. And like you
current
could see those.
day.
And then the stepfather's like, the embodies that, because he's like cheering for the violence
And we
that's
see how-
happening. And it's terrible.
Yeah, he starts out as like a normal kind of milquetoast guy. He's watching Homelander. He's like, oh, I like, I like superheroes and stuff. And you see the gradual descent into, oh, now he's cheering because Homelander just blew this guy's head up because he was a lib cuck or something.
Yeah, he threw something at Ryan, and then the whole crowd cheers. It just takes one person to start, the movement of normalizing something, and then a cascade happens, and all of a sudden we can blow people's heads up on TV.
You see the ticker headline at the bottom of the news program wall that's being filmed too that says Stormfront follower who accused Starlight House of being, pedophilia ring is a sex criminal. is what it says, like has history of sex crimes.
Very Fox News.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like the worst.
It is interesting that what we're talking about so far with this boys finale, it literally has been 0% the superpowers, because this is like the anti-superhero show. We're talking about the societal reflection, the familial reflection, like the personal reflection that the show puts on you in the midst of this crazy gore. And that's why
it's a show about real things that just happens to have superheroes in it, right?
As an allegory. And with as much Marvel fatigue as I've been having, I cannot wait for the boys to come back. For the final season, hopefully. But what a way to do it. Do we want to talk about some of the superhero action that we are getting here? I think that final fight was awesome, even if it took twists and turns. Like the Ryan play is like, well, now anything can happen. And then for, Soldier Boy to knock Ryan away, then it's like, okay, all bets are off, and it's a free-for-all at that point.
Now, Mike, you're talking about the fight to the left of me. I love that fight. Beautiful fight, super powered people fighting each other.
Stuff getting destroyed, yeah.
Fight to the right of me. Kimiko killing innocent people with her nails, climbing
X-23.
after this. Oh, brilliant, yes. But after this season-long arc of Am I a Monster? Have I gone too far killing people? Why would you dance joyously while you murder someone? I don't understand the execution of that.
Well, it's her choice now.
She's out of control.
I guess she's fighting for something she believes in now, instead of fighting for whatever Butcher would point her and say
grisly.
Kill. It is grisly.
Well, she was so happy when she lost her powers, because that's all she wanted at the beginning of the season. But then she kind of...
Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she needs her powers back so she can protect Frenchie, right? And that's kind of what... And that's a parallel to what Huey and Butcher are going through, where they're like, we need this, this Temp V to like... Huey and Starlight's whole relationship this season is like, I want to, I don't want you always to protect me. I want to protect you. And she's like, I don't need you to protect me. I have superpowers. But Huey, I guess he feels like emasculated in this relationship, right?
Now, Jacob, would you have turned the stage lights up or shot up the XV?
Yeah, I would have turned the lights up.
No way, man. No. I'm chugging that thing down, teleporting in there, getting everybody out of that situation. Mike,
I would have turned the lights up, I would think, because you could die at that point, and you've been communicated you might die if you take him. Plus, I do like...
I don't know.
He learns the lesson, though, and I appreciate, like, you don't need to save her, you just need to support her. And I think that was nice. And Frenchie kind of already understands that. He's not trying to save Kimiko. Like, he does, like, but in general, he's doing the mission, he's making the gas, and she's protecting him, and he's just letting that happen.
Totally.
Yeah, the nerve agent. Yeah.
With Butcher,
Maeve tossing it into a fucking city. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But with Butcher taking that Temp V, like, how is that going to resolve? Because, like, shouldn't he be dead by now?
Now we know he's got 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. The line the doctor, he's sort of spacing out, smoking a cig.
You can't smoke in here.
The line the doctor pulls him back to after you can't smoke in here is, we did our best. We drained as much of the fluid as possible. If we operate, your just quality of life will be destroyed.
It won't make you live longer. It's just going to be more painful to live. Yeah.
My God.
So we have to resolve this in another season.
Yeah.
Which it's now interesting, I guess, where we're set up. Big things happen. I mean, we lose Black Noir here in a shocking kind of twist, and that's who Soldier Boy wanted to target, and Homelander took that away from him. And
we only really saw Black Noir's backstory this season. Like, he was sort
of
like
like 2 episodes,
in the
maybe.
First 2 seasons, yeah.
I'll see you in the arms of
Christ
our Savior.
Man.
Oh my God.
Those little cartoon animals. Crazy. So that's going on. I think, we have Maeve really had a cool fight standing up to Homelander. I'm wondering if that, she ends up getting him in the ear with a metal straw. Is that going to affect his super hearing so more plotting can happen without him knowing? Because that's a big thing. They always have, yeah, so maybe that'll help them with plotting, how to take him down. And Maeve sacrifices herself, sort of, to get Soldier Boy's going to go nuclear. And then she gets out the window, at least, and saves everybody in the tower.
She gets blasted by
and she has no powers. But suddenly she survives and rides off into the sunset.
Nuke.
Yeah. But man, brave Maeve. That was a very brave thing to do.
That was very brave.
And I think she was a total badass. And if anyone, I hope she gets to ride off in the sunset at the end of this and be happy. And same thing with Kimiko and Frenchie. They think they deserve the biggest kind of happy ending.
I think the ultimate end game will be Butcher and Homelander fight to the death and they both die.
Have to stop each other.
Yeah.
I think
now we got Jacob. We got
Northman.
The one moment of dual beam team up. We get a little glance between each other, almost a bit of acknowledgement, right? Recognition.
Yeah.
Yep. And I do like, he even says the deal was you and me fight to the death, Butcher. This is bullshit. You know, you're breaking the terms, so I'm breaking the terms. You know,
this is our game.
The changing loyalties with Soldier Boy and. It's just great. Like everyone's just using Soldier Boy basically. No one knows he's so unpredictable because he's just this crazy guy who just wants to smoke weed and like.
Well, he has to smoke weed, or he'll become a nuclear.
Or he'll have PTSD. The humanism and Mike. I'm saying Mother's Mike. No. I'm saying Jensen Michaels over here. A little Soldier Boy.
There is a little bit of a with my haircut and maybe the voice there.
Got to do a little rapture for us after this. But the line at the end that I was kind of most struck by, Jacob, and that hurt me the most was, "I ain't going no back in no fucking box." You know, it's just we just have to eliminate him. He just has to be put away. Why? Why is he such this? Yeah,
he's
humanity.
He's a big dickhead, right? He has outdated ideas, but at the same time, he was betrayed by the government, the company, his team. Left for dead in Russia, had his semen extracted, and was like, you know what I mean, left for dead for 30 years. So
we see.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The heavy lifting this show does, I say, even with Homelander 2, to humanize people who are pieces of shit, to make them sympathetic. It doesn't excuse that they need to be dealt with, but the way to humanize even villains in a way that's like, damn,
kind of
like it's pitiable almost.
It's saying most people are not just evil for no reason. You know, you have your Michael Myerses, but this is
ex-presidents, stuff like that. But beyond that,
if you want to have a happy marriage, don't marry a beautiful woman.
He's smoking.
I mean, he's not good. I'm not arguing that.
No, but there's elements that humanize him.
You see why, how monsters become monsters, and a lot of times it's due to their daddy issues, right?
Inherited familial trauma, as you were saying.
Or prolonged trauma throughout their life,
his team, so it's not surprising that his team hates him and would want to turn on him.
Right. There's layers to this show, I guess, is the point.
Irving.
Totally.
But he's back in the box now. So what does that do, right?
Mike, great question. Here's what my dad said, and I didn't think about this. He said, "Do they research his body? Is that what what's her name? She's not Stillwell, right? Who's the FBI agent or the CIA agent?
Yeah, I can't remember
But whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Does she research creating an anti-soup weapon out of whatever energy he is discharging, and will they somehow try to kill Homelander next season? Finally,
that would be that's the Homelander killing weapon, is just
get his powers gone, make him mortal,
neutralize him,
which is honestly worse than death for him. A man who thinks he's a god and literally above humanity, simply make him human and make him live as a fucking human, right? It's worse
put him
than
in jail
death
for life.
Yeah,
I think that would be worse than death for him.
Just like taking Ryan is worse than death for Butcher. Like you have to live with the guy who raped your wife, and this is not your kid, and now he's going to raise him to be a little asshole.
But again, a guy I'm not defending by any moment. And again, Anthony Starr, is he the one who deserves an Emmy this season? I have no idea. All the performances are so good.
Seriously.
But saying in those vulnerable moments, they wouldn't let you raise me. You know, he kind of like says that to Soldier Boy as the plea, like all a boy needs is his father's lessons or something. You're just like, he's so self-aware, it's almost frightening.
You could see the desire to be loved, like as he would say about the public. I want to be
Soldier
loved,
Boy
but I'll
hates
take
that.
fear.
Why do you want to be
He
loved
wants to
by
be
them so
loved.
much?
Mhm.
He'd rather
That's
be
a
loved
threat,
and feared,
though,
but if he
I
can't
don't
be
think
loved,
he can
he'll
do
be
the
feared.
fear. Because I don't think he can be happy with that.
No, that's true. That's true.
But you know, at the end of the day, he'll still be loved by his hardcore fan base, right? Which is
Or that
He's
crazy
finding
mental
that,
affect.
that this is he will see that as love, but it's not the right thing, man. So
No.
But
we're
I
gonna
think
see
a
more
big part
layers.
of if next season is the last season, I think a big part of it will be the sort of the battle for Ryan's soul. You know,
Yes.
is
The
he gonna
duel of the
go with
fates.
Homelander or is he going to go with
Right.
Yeah.
Here's my final prediction. I said this to Jacob the other day, Mike,
Mhm.
and then I want to hear your guys' predictions for next season.
Yes.
But I think with the dissolution of the Seven, we will move up front Homelander and Homelander Boy. The introduction of a new sidekick and a new, authorized outfit. We will get the building of the brand that is
Totally.
Ryan.
I
Wow.
could totally see that. Yeah.
Patriot
Be
Boy.
the Robin.
Yeah,
Patriot
something like
Boy,
that. You
Well,
know.
halfway through season, he'll change his name. Like, we'll get
Homelander
jokes about
Jr..
all of it. I don't want to be Homelander Boy anymore. I actually want to be the Ryanator. And he'll be like, you actually can't be that because marketing, she says and blah, blah, blah. And you'll just see these struggles that, again, Homelander's just not equipped to deal with.
Yeah. No, that all the layers with that. Do we get Stan Edgar back? I guess if I can predict. Again, the show has to me end when Homelander's gone because Anthony Starr is the show and he should get the Emmys.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
there's many options of
have
people on
some-
here, but
Carl Urban, maybe. I don't know.
I have some
Also
news
excellent.
about, obviously they're doing another season. I don't know if that's the last season or not. They're doing a spin-off that's like a Heroes University, like VOT University spin-off. And they said that the spin-off will also cross over to the main show. I don't know
Sure.
how that'll be.
I almost
I'm
kind
not
of thought
liking
that's
that.
what they were setting Supersonic up for, but I guess not.
yeah, I'm not into that. This is a little leading, but they're going to do a Stranger Things spin-off, and it's like I don't like this. I'm imagining Andor will tie in, but let's bring it back to the boys. I don't like spin-offs.
Yeah.
You're not excited for even Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Even
The Stranger Things one is
Stranger.
interesting, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Yeah.
I did read about basically the Duffer Brothers said it's totally different than whatever you're expecting. Like it's going to be very different from Stranger Things. While still
Meanwhile,
being
this
universe,
boys
so.
thing is saying it's going to be connected, and now you have to watch them
Yeah.
It
both,
seems like
and
they
it's
really
a
want to
whole.
expand the boys universe. They had that
Amazon.
The Boys Diabolical show that was kind of like a bunch of one-off, animated episodes in the boys universe. So they definitely Amazon wants to expand that boys universe. I don't think it's going to end with the boys main show if it does end this season.
Well, let me pitch my season 5 idea then. So we
Please.
kind of have our crews, even though they were disagreeing a lot this season. They've come together to reform the boys as a democracy with Montclair. It would not push around Butcher, So everyone's working together.
Oh, Frenchie's here. Wow.
I could be to Kimiko too. Check this out.
Oh, that was my.
Yeah. Spot on.
Good.
So we have Kimiko, we have Frenchie, Butcher, Annie, Huey. I think
A
A-Train's going to flip the dawn
Sure.
of the 7.
Oh.
Good guys. Yes.
A-Train is an
Beautiful.
interesting character because obviously
What an
he's
arc.
I think he'll flip, and
also
that'll
had
be
a
our.
lot of a sympathetic arc, but he's also done some really shitty things in the past. Like he killed Huey's girlfriend. That's the inciting incident of this whole show.
I thought he could just get away with it. Same way Blue Hawk injured his brother and thought he could just walk away from it. Yeah.
It only became real to him when his brother was injured.
And his brother wants nothing to do with him. He went there to try to make
very
amends. So I think he's at a turning point. So I think he'll be our member of the good 7.
And the general to the bad side, the other evil piece of shit who will never turn, the Deep.
Yeah.
I saw a
The
lot
Star
of
Scream.
Mike, that's so perfect. I saw a lot of people say, they did the Gal Gadot video. They always do this celebrity parody as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With the differing books now that his wife and them splitting,
In
will
Too
we
Deep.
get a Johnny Depp Amber Heard
Oh,
trial parody
Wow.
next
They
season?
might.
that could be really interesting.
And
Wow.
can I just say about the Deep, what I really love about that last episode, I don't know about you guys, but if you've
Off the
ever
deep end?
been-
My story of survival, right?
if you've ever been in that moment where, not even just with a psychopath like Homelander, but when you're in like a really bad meeting at work or whatever, and it's complete silence, you do need one moron to kind of say something like, is something wrong with Black Noir? Like, is everything okay, Homelander? Like, yeah, you do need that guy who just kind of like takes the heat off the situation by just like being an idiot. You just go like,
Yeah.
thank you, Deep.
And
Yes,
again,
yes,
you know,
yes.
another character that is humanized, even though he's done terrible
Kevin.
Yeah.
shit. But he's I do sympathize him in certain ways, even if he is a piece of shit, because he just wants Homelander to say one nice thing about him. Like that's all he wants is like one
Yeah.
compliment from
Just
Homelander.
so useless.
And then like
Yeah.
he did terrible stuff, but then he joined the church that was very like manipulative, and then his wife is like controlling, like he deserves the bad things. He's a bad guy,
Yeah.
but he's in this, he had to eat his friend Timothy. Like he's had to do some shit
He just
too.
wants to have sex with see.
But then with
This
Homelander
what is
too
her
being
name? This is Chantel.
Oh yeah, wow, what a scene.
She
But
wants to taste you.
oof. Did she know Timothy?
Yeah, seriously.
But then when Homelander's eventually like, I don't need any of you. Like he at this point he's like not playing around with the deep or anything. He's like, y'all watch it. Ashley, take off your wig, and everybody's just like exposed, and it's like that's why I think A-Train will flip, but the deep will still be a lackey,
Yeah, and then we also have, Senator Lady, Head Pop and Senator Lady.
working with
Jacob,
Homelander now too.
Victoria Newman, who's now obviously put up this play to be vice president. She did this trade-off with Homelander for power. She's made this deal with the devil for protection of her own people, even though she's never going to come out to the American people. But what is the positive side of the arrangement for her? She's a figurehead that this insane person you can't control will just destroy one day.
Well, at least you can give him immunity for all of his crimes and make him like America's hero if you become president. Like then you can at least keep yourself alive and your daughter
And
alive,
basically
maybe.
If Homelander needs you, then you know that you'll be safe and your daughter will be safe. But if you become expendable, then what does she gain out of it?
Yeah, so her whole position's weird too. I don't know if she'll ever become good or not, but it's
No.
at least Homelander, potentially Ryan, Newman, and the Deep versus the others. But the Deep, he's inconsequential, really, in a combat scenario. But there's no more V for Butcher and them, so it'll be an interesting season. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. And again, the crux of the show is the moral ideas and like the character study of it all, and the way it challenges you to even look at villains as human beings, terrible ones, but they're still human. They just,
Again,
how monsters are made. Like Jacob said, I think that's a good way to look at it.
Totally. And to compare it to another show that I liked a lot when it was on, Game of Thrones. I think Game of Thrones did a good job of like humanizing the villains, but still making them villains, but you kind of understand what led them to become the way they are, with Cersei or Daenerys in the end, or any of those characters. Like you see, no one's all good or all bad, and it's how it's nature versus nurture, how we're raised versus our innate sensibilities. It's kind of a combination of all that.
And the choices you make when you're faced with adversity and things like that, or some things are out of your control, and how does that shape you, et cetera, et cetera. So really fascinating stuff for what on its surface seems to just be a hyper-violent superhero show. It's actually got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and it was a great season, I thought.
Well, we've talked a little bit about the source material. This will be the last thing I kind of say about it. But Stormfront obviously was one of the big characters they translated last season. But Soldier Boy, Payback, Victor Newman, the vice president, the male counterpart for the comics, Herogasm, a huge spin-off issue, Eddie the Super Hamster, I believe was his name. They even incorporated for a moment. Love Sausage, we got to see again.
Yep.
We're kind of hitting the peak. We're kind of getting past the source material. So I'm kind of curious also where they'll head, being off the reins a little bit.
Yeah. Well, according to basically everyone I know that's ever had any experience with the source material, everyone says the show far surpasses the source material, which is unusual for an adaptation. But I guess most people that I've talked to that have read it don't like the comics, but like the show. So
Once again, Garth Ennis is a madman.
yeah.
Right.
Like, there's just nothing more to say.
Ennis the Menace, yeah.
Yes.
I have faith in Eric Kripke. I think he's been super successful in adapting the show. So I have faith.
So
He has like a supernatural ability to have
So,
good character
Jacob,
moments. And
next season, Jacob, who will the other supernatural brother play? Will he come in and be, the ghost of Butcher's brother? Will he be a new soup?
he'll be
Jared
Padalecki. Sammy boy. Sammy.
Padalecki.
Yeah.
Damn.
That'd be amazing.
Yep. Maybe he'll make it in there, and who knows? But
I hope he does.
yeah,
He'll come in as Walker, Texas Ranger.
there we go. And we have not seen the last of Soldier Boy, at least it seems. Hopefully not. He did a great job. Fuck your shield. Great. I think we saw some pretty wild stuff, some pretty strange stuff, but I think there's been some even stranger things that we're going to talk about coming up next on the finale episode right after this.
It is time to blast to the past, and I am feeling upside down right now because my two co-hosts here are just dripping 80s. What is up, boys?
Yo, what's up?
That hill.
Yep, Mikey Munson and Cobb Bush.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I love it.
Yeah.
Cobb Bush sounds too much like Jeb Bush.
Oh,
it's all right.
He's from The Boys. He's that parody politician from The Boys,
Yes.
right? Not real life.
But here we're rolling up a Hellfire campaign, and Jacob, you're listening to a track to make sure that your neck doesn't break. You don't go blind because we don't want that to happen to you.
That's right. I'm just trying to get these bats over here.
I have to listen to the song on repeat.
Now, I guess we should have set up top. Spoilers. Obviously, we're talking finales. We're talking everything.
Yeah, we've already spoiled the other two, so sorry.
Yeah, you fools. This is the point of the episode.
But this is in 1986, so they'll have known this before the episode starts.
Well, we're in the upside down where it's still the year where it was set. So yeah,
right,
we're at two.
84.
But,
yeah.
Mike, you kind of just brought up the big moment, of course, that I wanted to talk about for the Stranger Things finale, because in our previous episode, if somebody evergreen style is just going through the Normies episodes right now, not doing week to week, let's just say they did 200 and this one, 201 back to back, you hear all three of us go, well, they're not going to kill Eddie. We know that much for sure.
Yep.
We were not correct about that.
If you've been on the internet at all, you might know that he didn't make it.
My big prediction was they were going to kill Steve. I thought they were going to kill Steve, and they didn't.
It just seemed that he's driving to the Army surplus store, Jacob. He's turned around. He's going like, always wanted to have kids, by the way, Nancy. You know,
right.
One day from retirement. Yeah.
I'm watching this, and like a single tear is going down from my face where I'm just like, if you kill Steve Harrington, I will kill myself. But I also thought it had to happen. So I'm kind of, I don't know.
A lot of the fan base probably agreed with you, and that's probably why they didn't kill him, unfortunately. But I think thematically it would have made sense. But maybe they'll kill him in the last season.
I mean, the main cast remains unscathed. Every main character from season 1, even ones that died,
Max.
Dr. Brenner, are still alive.
Even ones that died are in Russia. Hopper.
Yeah, Hopper died.
It's
Everyone made it except
Max died.
It's kind of like Qui-Gon, everyone getting stabbed in the
Max
chest.
is brain dead, technically.
Yeah, but who knows how long that'll last. 11 will just go find her mind somewhere and bring it back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
But shit went down, right? And,
a lot.
Went down.
So we talked that we hadn't gotten the last 2 episodes. It was essentially the last 2 movies. One was like 2 hours the other one was an hour and 45.
We had another 4 hours of content that we didn't realize was going to sort of dictate and set up the final run of Stranger Things now, Mike. So we've gotten our full taste of season 4. How
13
do you feel
hours.
About what you got?
I liked it. I think we talked about how so far up to that point it had been the best since season 1, and I think this finale definitely delivered. It was epic in scope. It's the Empire Strikes Back. You know, they kind of fall short a little bit, and there's seismic activity in Hawkins. Let's say, Jacob, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I really like how they kind of are answering questions that have been in this show since season 1. You know, we see so many shows like Lost where they set up these mysteries and they don't pay them off well. I think this, even if they didn't have the entire plan in mind when they were making season 1, which I'm sure they didn't, the way they sort of retconned number one into being this important figure for the entire Upside Down and everything. I think it was really well done.
Yeah, if you're going to retcon, it's about as tasteful as you can get. And it feels like, if you've ever run a D&D campaign, sometimes like they kill off your big villain, then you got to figure out how to tie it up later.
Improvise. Yeah.
The guy who ran the tavern, Mike, that you met on that first journey, it was him all along.
I never knew that. Oh, let's explore your backstory. Yeah, you actually knew that guy. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's as tasteful as you could do. And it does give a face to the Upside Down. Like, the Demogorgon was cool as, like, Jaws. He was just a monster movie and a mystery. But now that it's gotten so expansive with the Mind Flayer, there's no face to that thing. Now we have a personality. We have something we can direct our anger at and go after.
It's
and
more
they have a
ground
real
to
vendetta
cover.
with 11.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's enough plausible. Jacob, what you said about Lost was so perfect, where you're watching something where you're like, okay, you had like 6 or 7 seasons. The last 5 minutes of the last episode is when you're kind of revealing everything. Yeah. I feel like now with Stranger Things, I've got a good base of answers. I got a solid foundation. I feel like I can take the rest of the ride without kind of being let down.
And like with the boys, we're not sure if 5 will be or 4 will be the last for the boys, but we know that 5 will be the last Stranger Things barring the spinoff, and it's 13 hours, but it feels like a Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, where this is setting everything up, giving you the information that you need and context, and then we're going to go fight Vecna, Voldemort, in the next part.
And what I like about it is, at least what they've said in the press, the Duffer Brothers know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how it ends. And again, to compare it to a show that I have to compare everything to, I guess, Game of Thrones, infamously bad last season because they rushed it. They wanted to go do Star Wars. They didn't have really a plan, and they had to basically make it up as they go. The Duffer Brothers, it seems like at least last season or this season, they've come up with a solid 5-season arc where they're like, we know where we're going. We know what we're setting up, and I like that.
They were
that parallel multiverse where the Duffer Brothers are adapting the Stephen King Stranger Things 7 books universe that aren't done yet. He's like, I'll get to them, don't worry.
Yep. Right, the other parallels, we have a 2-person creative team working on the Game of Thrones in this. But
of course.
They mentioned, I watched like the Netflix like post interview like circle jerks that all these networks do, like the Ready Room. Every network will do it to build up hype. Oh, this episode was amazing, incredible, butterfly tears, as Red Letter Media would say. But there was some interesting notes where they talked about, they had the scripts for 4, but then the pandemic hit and they had to wait. So like it was the first time they had all the scripts finished before they started shooting. So they had extra time to really tighten everything up. So maybe sometime between season 3 and 4, thanks in part to the pandemic, they were able to really find this perfect, hopefully, balance of what 4 and 5 are going to be and have it all planned out because they had extra time to write and really consider these things.
Right.
Looks like it's paying off.
Just don't offer them a Star Wars because, they'll run off halfway. But no,
they're too excited.
They know where they're going. And, fans can be nitpicky because I saw they made one mistake. They forgot Will's birthday was on a certain date, right? And people got all upset on the internet. But I think compared to what D&D were doing with Game of Thrones, at least they know where they're going. But
they need to start
a conclusion to this season.
People just need to die next season. And they said there should be more.
No,
there's a lot of plot armor.
Yeah,
in this show.
I don't know what I want at this point. To what you said, Mike, about the Empire Strikes Back ending, a lot of people have said sort of the Star Wars effect. I worry, and we'll talk about the whole thing, but just the sort of immediate ending that it sets up is very much like, this confrontation's coming. And kind of half the fun of the start of each Stranger Things season is the catch-up of Dustin went to fucking summer camp and Steve's working at the fucking ice cream parlor. Let's see the world.
Video store.
I worry that we're not going to get moments of Robin and Will having maybe something interesting to bond over about being sort of outsider people.
Right. I was wondering if they'd be able to have that conversation too.
Yeah, pairings. Every season kind of starts with different pairings. We see where everyone's at. Next season, it feels like, okay, this is the apocalyptic season. The whole town's fucked up. Everyone knows, there's a huge,
the snow is falling. If they don't know, they're going to know very soon. Yeah.
Can can you add an Eddie Munster next season, Jacob? Can you add a new
Well,
fan favorite character when you have to service? It's like, well, we got to wrap up Argyle, and it's like you don't have to wrap up Argyle. You don't
Right.
have to, I love certain characters, but I'm truly saying that like I wonder how slavish they'll feel to of every moment is going to be a big fan favorite moment. We have to make these moments matter.
I'm interested to see if they will introduce that many new characters in the last season, because every season they kind of have expanded the cast a little bit.
Very much.
And you get kind of one season wonders like Eddie or, Max's brother before.
Billy was a 2-season thing, but
yeah.
Instead, this one kind of leaves the dangling thread of the splintered military force, and it really seems like that's going to be the human threat they have to overcome, and then it'll just have to go right into upside down stuff. So
yeah.
I just, again, I'm not saying timing-wise. They've said as well that they're going to do a less episode count. It's not going to be 13 hours of content. Great. Again, if that tells a good story, great. I complained at the start of the season. I actually think 13 hours of content did a pretty good job for this season. So I don't know what I want. We'll have to see how it's presented to us.
Again, my big problem was just the release schedule, basically. And I still don't understand. I still don't understand why they did it the way they did it with releasing the last 2 episodes a month later.
I don't know.
No. Effect shots. They were uploading effect shots the day that they released it. People watched it day of. I'm one of those, and like some of the effects weren't like all the way done. Like they got more bats and stuff.
They could have just postponed the whole thing like a month.
No, July 4th weekend though. It's a big deal anyway.
I guess that's true.
Yeah,
but you drop 7 episodes, get everyone excited for the finale, and then they have to wait a month. But I guess it worked because people tuned in, and it was like the biggest thing Netflix ever.
Jacob, you know who it worked for? Go ahead and look down at your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Think about the people
She had a month to become number one.
A month of madness and fervor from the fans. You actually have to say it worked. I don't know.
Yeah. And to bring us back from like predicting where are we going to go, like what happened, What
happened?
And so what we get is, Eleven trying to get her powers back and kind of torn between the 2 doctors, and she eventually gets her powers back and meets up with Mike, and then they beeline it for Hawkins, and then we have Steve and that team going into kill Vecna's physical body while Max is getting him to mind project into her mind, and then Eddie's going to distract the bats so they can approach the castle. So this whole 3-pronged attack happening, and that's the goal, is because if he gets to kill Max, that's the 4th kill. That's the 4th gate, at which point he can bring the Upside Down to our side. That's his big plan.
Right.
He's been working on that ever since season 1.
Yeah. And the different groups are all doing their own thing without even some people in that group knowing what the other groups are doing. Like, nobody knows what
the Russia side is
doing. No one knows what they're doing in Russia.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jacob. You don't think it's worth Winona Ryder saying out loud, and we'll just kill this thing over here in Russia. We just got to hope that it's going to help those kids over with whatever they're doing somewhere else.
Even though you can make a phone call to America and whatever.
Yeah. With the Russia thing, they had to give them something to kind of do during all of this.
To overcome.
Yeah.
And the hive mind is an interesting aspect that they have built up from season 2.
It's enough for me, I guess. Yeah.
And the Russia plotline wasn't my favorite part. Wasn't my least favorite part of the season. I think the worst subplot was probably the van people, right, driving across America. Like, that was kind of the one where, like, okay,
until they meet up with 11. Yeah.
But it's okay to just be like, these characters aren't doing that much. They don't need to be in a couple episodes, right? But
and Jacob, there are fans who. This is a young show. You have to imagine this. This is a lot of people's favorite show because it's on a very accessible network for them. Everybody has Netflix. They've grown up with it now for 5 years of content. You go, Netflix is my thing. Who go like, well, Charlie Heaton is Jonathan. He's just not getting that much to do. I'm pissed. I'm so mad about that. To which I would respond with, all that van stuff, even just the showing of the picture, acknowledging that Will's crying in it and Jonathan clocking that and them having that brother conversation later.
Yeah.
Like, this is enough. Like, this is like deep enough character content that you should be happy that it's rich. It's good.
Yeah. Poor baby Will. He was breaking my heart.
There were
sweet baby.
A couple times where I teared up this season, and that was one of them, man. When he's talking about how, and again, that's like the highlight of the van people arc, when he's telling Mike that 11 will always need him, but he's saying that I'm going to need him.
And Mike just doesn't get it. He's just oblivious to what.
Well, he
Will's
turns
really
out the
talking about.
window.
You're our heart. Don't you
Yeah.
understand? You're the leader. And he just has a big cry. Just
It's-
a big
Yeah.
cry in the car.
Oh,
Just a little
man.
closeted gay kid.
And it was great to have Jonathan be like,
We love
"You're
it.
always going to be my brother." And
Hey,
what
you
I
know,
loved it. I loved it.
Whatever changes, whatever's going on, and Noah Schnapp again. I just rewatched this whole thing. I cannot believe
He
that
crushed
people
it.
are like, well, they need to write better stuff for Will next season. Whatever. He played like the possessed kid in season 2. The stuff that he got to do this time, I think like he's just crushing it. What could you?
Yeah.
It's a big ensemble show. What can you complain about?
And I
Well, with-
cannot wait for him to meet Robin and like see how
Yes.
they can kind of relate.
yeah.
Yep,
I'm
that's gonna be
telling
fun.
you, man. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because with any show that has a big fan base like this show does, obviously shippers becomes a big part of it, right?
Oh,
Shipping.
Yep.
And a
Yep.
very popular ship is Mike Wheeler and Will Byers. So
Of
Right.
course.
all
Of course, of
but it's not
course.
going to happen, obviously. But
It's unrequited, unfortunately, for Will. At least
yeah,
it seems
and-
that way
but-
right now.
But Mike, he's always going to be a good platonic friend to Will, but it's just it's heartbreaking.
What if
'cause-
Will is the one who dies next year because of
He's
his
gonna be
connection to
important.
everything?
He's
He's
yeah.
going to be the
The
Max of next
superpower.
season, where
Yeah.
he's got that connection, like we saw in season 2 again with
He can feel what he's
got
up
that
to,
connection
how
with the
he
Upside Down.
thinks. Yeah.
Spy.
Yeah. So van people are fine. Pineapple on pizza. What do you guys think? Yes or no?
Okay.
I'm not against it.
I'm not against it. Jake.
Don't yuck my
It's not my
yum.
I like it.
favorite.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
yucking anyone's yum. It's not my favorite. I didn't think any of it worked until we got to the pizza shop. And then when he's working on those pies and he's saying, you got to be clean to enter mine.
Yep.
He's just doing all these other lines. I thought, okay, Argyle's crushing it.
The
This
other
is
thing-
where that
Great,
it is
yeah.
good.
And even when they first are driving, he's like, I didn't know we expanded into Arizona, Nevada. And it's like, oh, so he
the
knows
perfect
there's
setup.
pizza places
Yeah, of
there.
course.
And that was way
Exactly.
before it pays
Exactly.
off. I'm like, oh, setup
Yeah.
and payoff. I love it.
I'm
Yeah.
piggybacking from a pizza dough freezer.
But
What?
Jacob, this is how you know that Sadie Sink is like an amazing actress, because the 1 minute she takes to run through her mind of, okay, do any of those words that she just said make sense to me? We've fought,
Right.
demo dogs. We've done this. I'm piggybacking from a pizza shop.
dough
and it's like,
freezer.
Yeah.
I truly love this season, guys. It's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, we get 11. Like, she owns her powers now. Like, she gets them back.
Yes.
And she's able to use the pizza dough freezer to piggyback and get into, the mind of.
It's amazing. She's so
Of-
powerful. We
yeah.
got the death of Dr. Brenner, unfortunately. I guess. I don't
Fortunately.
know how I feel about that.
Somehow,
Well, it's
whatever.
interesting.
Yeah. He's an
Yeah, go
asshole.
ahead.
Well, I was just saying the guy they cast to be the
But he's,
sniper with 2 close-ups, he seems like the biggest asshole. I don't know how they did that with just 2 close-ups of that guy.
Right.
But Brenner,
With
yeah.
Dr. Brenner, he is humanized more, where you see some of his motivations for doing, and even him saying, "I always wanted what was best for you, 11." But 11 knows, like, he's still doing it for his own ego as well. Like, he
was
wasn't.
hunting
He
He
never
doing
should have
it.
had
Yeah.
one around those kids.
No.
11 is totally right. That was wildly irresponsible. But he believes he
Yeah.
did care for him. So, yeah, they do some
He
humanization of
believes
Dr.
that
Brenner.
everything he did was the right thing to do to try to, save the world or whatever. But his methods, they, don't always agree. But
Yeah.
he had a good death scene, I think, and 11 had some closure on that period of her life, I think, which is important.
Another thing that happens with 11 is she loses.
Yes.
Yeah.
She takes her first L. Like, she's, for lack of a better term, and so that's going to be big for her. She got her hand cut off, more or less, Luke
But-
Skywalker. So,
Oh,
It's interesting. She loses, but then she sees Max dying, and she says, "That's one L too far. That's not going to happen." And
mhm.
she basically uses her force powers to bring Max back to life.
At least keep her into a coma state, but it's
Yeah.
too little too late for the spell. The gates are open, and now Hawkins is crashing into the Upside Down, or, presumably now, once Vecna heals up a little bit, he's damaged. We knew that. Michael Myers is away after he falls out the window.
yeah.
But
Listen, can we
who
talk
knows?
about the Max and Lucas stuff? I thought that was
Yeah.
so good, and one of my most hated, a top runner for most hated character in this whole show now is the basketball guy. the
Oh,
jock, right?
Jason or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he comes up, fucks everything up, and then
You're
dies.
doing devil worship in here. It's like, buddy, get the fuck out of here, man. We got Lucas is like, you have no idea what's going on. Like,
I'm gonna stand over here, and you're gonna stop the devil ritual.
When the girl is rising up and he's getting choked, and he's trying to do eyes to the guy of like, look at what's happening. If you see this girl flying, you'll understand. I can't do that. It's like, that's not me.
He's just too ignorant.
Yeah.
And there's no way to explain to him. But
he's humanized too because of the heartbreak of Chrissy. Like, he actually cared about her.
He's doing
he just took it too far.
Chrissy was buying drugs, man. No fucking way.
She would have come to me. Yeah.
You're like, Jesus Christ.
But we have that I was still emotional from the whole Max death scene, and then the rift starts opening up, and he just gets split in half. And that was like a great death for me.
Everyone likes that. Yep, he just gets ripped in half.
Everyone liked that. Yeah.
And Sadie sink again. I don't want to die. I'm not ready to go. Like that. That's such a strong scene for her and Lucas in there. And
so that's the second time where I cried, Mike. That's where 33-year-old Colin Brooks was looking at it, going like,
that's the onion cutting scene.
Because when she flies up and you see the one arm go one way and the leg, and you're thinking like, okay, those limbs are broken. I guess if
maybe it's still alive
now, and then the back kind of goes, and you're like, ooh.
And then you start seeing the eyes bleeding, and you're like, oh, this is not it. Yeah, that was one for me.
Saying, I can't see. I'm scared. I don't want to die. If you're Lucas, you're just like.
Even if
what do I do?
Even if she lives, she might be in the Pike Beep chair or blind. She might be, not the same.
Yeah.
I would say
she's not gonna. No more skateboarding for you, Max. Could be.
I think we're gonna end up wheelchair
blind
for the finale. Wow. I think maybe that is just the symptom of Vecna eating your mind. We're gonna get this battle of 11 going into him. Maybe we'll see these other villains. I don't know if that means Eddie too. I don't know if that means the people who die by the hive mind or specifically were eaten by Vecna's sort of like mind drain.
They could definitely
to open the gates.
He threw a memory at Max of Billy, so maybe he could throw memories of Eddie at Dustin, who was very affected by his death, things like that.
But I think Billy is in the Max camp of, again, eaten by Vecna, which is maybe a little different. I think the consciousness of Billy is going to be a good guy next season who will help us get Max back, or at least help 11 get Max back.
That would be pretty wild, yeah.
I think with Max, there's got to be some lasting, consequences, and I think, there's going to be. I don't want to, predict too much, but I think there's going to be some deaths next season. I don't think all the kids are going to make it to the end of the show.
I don't think so either.
No, it's going to take a heavy toll on the party, I think. You don't just kill Vecna. It's more difficult than that. So
now, does Mike die and 11 goes Super Saiyan, which we've seen a lot of people kind of predict?
That's a possibility too.
That could be interesting.
That speech, that's the one that sort of taps her into the attempt to win, right? Even though the gambit does not pay off.
He says, I love you and all that. That's the other time I cried too, is when Vecna's basically telling her, you've lost and there's nothing you can do. I was like,
it made me feel so powerless, Mike.
Yeah. And it's like reminds you how important your friends are. It was very anime, the power of friendship, but he's taking that away from her like you're alone.
An adult man. I kept saying, shut up to the TV. I'm talking to the characters that are bullying these teenagers. It's Stranger Things is, can I just say, having watched it all in a row, I recommend everybody does that every once in a while. It's the best soap opera on television. And that's just what it is. It's this thing that kind of gives you exactly what you think you're getting. There's enough twists and turns, but otherwise it's just tropey and just leans so heavy into the stuff that you love. It's so soap opera-y, and I love it. I love it. I mean in a positive.
Can't wait for season 5.
Yeah. At the end of the day, aside from all the genre stuff, which we like, it's about the relationships between the characters, right? And that's what any good story is about. And you kind of grow to, like these characters and care about them, so you care about what happens to them. And speaking of emotional scenes, should we talk about the other big death scene? Our boy, Eddie.
Yes.
Right?
Let's do a quick little chat about Eddie. We talked about it at the beginning, but let's bring it back around to get
He's our sweet rock and roller. He's the head of the Hellfire Club. He's somebody everybody has turned against, right? The entire town blaming him for Chrissy's murder. He's saying constantly, I'm not going to be a hero. I'm not the guy to be the hero. Harrington, those girls jumped in. I was just going to be left alone in the boat. I'm not a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this finale that it seems like a lot of fans are upset by, and I would ask you two guys to justify it and say why it is so good and important that actually he does do a heroic thing at the end.
Well, I have a minor gripe with it because
maybe me too.
I take it back then.
I like that he had a heroic sacrificial death scene, but I also feel like he didn't really need to go back out there and like distract the bats. Like, what did he really do? Just distract the bats longer? He could have probably just gone back with Dustin and it wouldn't affect too much in the Upside Down, but he wanted to be the hero, and it makes sense thematically that he would do that. I just think specifically in that situation, maybe he didn't need to run out of that house.
You could have put the amplifier on the roof, guitar cable running in through a window, and just sat in the couch and just kept riffing. It'd have been fine.
Oh, that'd been cool.
Dustin breaks his little leg trying to climb up to him. That's heartbreaking, and he's hobbling over, and I don't think, Jacob, I don't think he needed to, but I think it is poignant that he's like, I didn't run away, because he spends the whole time running.
Right.
And I think mentally he's chosen to, from that moment of reprieve after the gun store where they're getting ready, reloading, and he says Henderson never changed. The love that he feels for this kid. Dustin, for some reason, is this stand-in younger brother character that makes these loner outsider males that older than him feel validated and better about themselves. And that's an incredible power that I love that the show harnesses. And Eddie feels that as well. And I really think there's just this idiot drive in him of, I don't have to do this, but it feels like the right thing to do to just really ensure that this kid makes it out, even if it's me dying. Even if I'm maybe getting them away from the hole too. Maybe he's worried the bats will, come through there. Who knows?
And he's firsthand seen what happens to one of Vecna's victims, like directly in front of his eyes. So he knows.
And I think maybe, he was expecting to die, kind of knowing that going in that he was going to die. And really, if he didn't die, what kind of life would he be returning to, where he's basically the main suspect in these murders? He can never live a normal life again. He'd always be in hiding or on the run. So maybe it is better that he died.
Yeah.
Who's going to graduate, Jacob? How dare you?
Yeah. He's going to pass on the...
But with Dustin, I
finally
think...
going to graduate.
It's interesting. Like, I kind of agree with the whole, Mike's the heart, but maybe isn't Dustin the heart of the group, really?
Or I feel like he could be, but they treat him like he's also like the brains, like he's got a plan. He's Donatello and Michael's Leonardo.
Steve, him
but
and
again,
Eddie.
but you guys are falling for the trick of the screenwriters are like, yes, he is the magic ingredient. He does work well because any pairing we put him in is going to work. So,
he works with everything.
I don't think that's his role necessarily in the show.
Well, but I do see the way he's able to talk to Eddie's dad. I think that's a really important scene. That was another time I teared up. I wish everyone would have got to know him because I think they would have loved him. And obviously Eddie's based on like the West Memphis 3. They're 3 D&D kids. Damien Eccles was like the leader. Right. And they were accused of a murder.
Falsely accused. They were nerds. They said it was ritual sacrifice, all this. And they were falsely accused,
And they were in prison. He was in prison for that. And he eventually got out. But that's kind of what the character's based on. So when you say what life is he going to go back to, he's still suspect number 1. But maybe once people realize there's monsters living beneath Hawkins, he will get his name cleared posthumously. And maybe there'll be a little bit of vindication for his uncle, I mean.
Right, because I think that's the whole saddest thing about his story is that even though he died a hero, very few people know the actual real him, and most people think he's this serial killer basically, and he's missing
a satanic serial killer. Yeah.
Terrible. So that scene between Dustin and his dad and his uncle, like that was a great scene.
So that needs to get cleared. But I do have one note on everybody's favorite scene, most metal ever. I think, first of all, the actor actually learned how to play Master of Puppets. Very cool. Second of all, Vecna, Spider, Master of Puppets, thematically appropriate. But not filmed very good. I think it is
interesting.
filmed very poorly from a how to film a guitar solo. Not enough fret, fingering, and not enough of that. It could have been more epic, I think, for what they were setting up, because they did such a good job of filming dice rolling being epic. I don't know how they messed up the greatest guitar solo ever.
They just kind of want to show you the green screen, really.
So it didn't really, I think it could have been filmed a lot better. He looks a little awkward sometimes. Emotionally it hits, but I think it could have been filmed better. That's my little technical nitpick, but yeah.
And then, I've seen articles, Metallica gets the Stranger Things Kate Bush bump. But really, Metallica, the biggest metal band of all time, do they need the Stranger Things bump?
Probably
I don't
not.
know.
More people probably heard their name, but just the same amount of
Gen
modern
Z.
teens have listened to
Yeah.
them. Probably not very much, But they do have a bigger name, I think, generally, prior to this.
Yeah, maybe Gen Z is not as familiar with them as millennials.
We are.
Or,
Well, we got Napster taken away thanks to Lars, so I
Right,
still
right.
hold a grudge. I would have played
That's
Run to the Hills, Iron Maiden.
Yeah, Metallica after, the early 90s, not the most, loved band in the world. They did a lot of things that people aren't so
No.
much a fan
Yeah,
of.
they made Saint Anger.
Well, but Jacob, people have done the math, of course, 1986, and when Master of Puppets was released, which is 1986, they're like, he would have 2 months to learn that guitar song. That just shows you he's a rock and roll god.
And to
it's
get a
like,
version
absolutely.
without vocals. I think he probably sold drugs to one of the recording engineers, and they hooked him up with the tabs and stuff. That's what I think.
Right.
That's a great. Yeah, they came through Indiana, Mike.
They were on a tour.
And I like when
Yeah.
they're
Hey,
searching
teach
his
me.
room, like Robin is like,
Yeah.
I'm looking for Bowie, whatever. What is this? I'm looking for music. He's like, this is music.
And that's Iron Maiden. That's the
Yeah.
tape that
Metal,
Run
man.
to the
Metal's
Hills came off of it, so they could have done that as well.
Yeah.
But Master of Puppets makes sense. But rip Eddie,
Oh, good.
Our boy.
just
Did you
re-edit
see-
that
you guys
guitar
see
solo.
The hot gossip about big scandal right now with the kid that plays Will.
Now I love Doja Cat. First,
Yeah, let's do this. Let's run our hot gossip.
Just wanted to mention it for one
This is
second. 'cause I
our
think it's
gossip
Yeah,
interesting.
our gossip section real quick, and then we'll get to the wrap up.
So Doja Cat hits up the kid that plays Will, Noah Schnapp, and says, I'm trying to hook me up with Joseph Quinn's number, the guy that plays
Eddie
Eddie.
Munson,
And
yeah.
apparently, he blasted that out on the internet, and that's a bad look for him. But and it became a whole controversy. I guess.
What is the bad look? Is a 16-year-old kid going, "Hey, internet, isn't it weird Doja Cat private messaged me?" And everybody's like, "You got to be kind. You're a celebrity now. You're not supposed to share those." It's like, no, he's a kid. It is weird she messaged him.
You
Yeah,
don't
I
blow
think
up her
him
spot
sharing
though.
it,
You
he
shouldn't
wasn't
blow up her
trying
spot
to-
though.
Yeah, I don't think he wasn't trying to be malicious.
Not on
in sharing it,
purpose.
but
No, I think he
her
was being
reaction
like,
was
"This
maybe
is
a
great.
little
People
over-
love Joseph Quinn." I think is what he was kind of trying to highlight, right?
Yeah, and then
She-
her reaction to it is like, "Oh, that's kind of that's snake behavior."
You
and all this.
sleazy little boy. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my
but
God,
it blew
Doja
up her
Cat.
spot, and she didn't like that. I get it, but it wasn't on purpose. He
No,
made a snap
that's the hot
decision, okay?
goss.
The Doja Cat's out of the bag. Oh my God, TMZ, call me.
That's it. I'll say. We'll jump into our final thoughts, but just of the whole episode. But just given our kind of final thoughts about Stranger Things. I'm so excited. I'm sure it'll be like 2 years before we even get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Finn Wolfhard will have a full beard. They'll talk about how 9th grade is going for him. We'll all just, have to nod along.
Like a Jensen Ackles.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
truly.
crazy to think everything that happened in the show happened in a period of like 2 years.
Yes.
Like all 4 seasons.
Papa, Millie Bobby Brown, they got you dressed in very strange to still be talking like that. But
Yeah.
I just can't wait. Because we talk about the cultural power, the fact that memes come and go. You can really only hold the attention. Even something with abortion rights. It's like we're only going to talk about that for like 5 fucking days before everybody just gets fucking bummed out and moves on.
Yeah.
We had a month of running up that hill from a original program that is, yes, it wears its references on its sleeves. It's this very, commercial forward, what were the actual brands of the 80s representative thing, but it's still, it's not Captain America 6, and I'll just always kind of love it for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All they have to
I
do
said
is
this-
stick the landing. Don't Game of
Totally.
Thrones it, as Jacob said. If they stick the
Exactly.
landing in season
Exactly.
5, even with the season 2 and 3 dip, it'll go down as like one of the greatest shows ever put on TV. So stick the landing. That's all I ask. That's it.
It'll be a phenomenon no matter what. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a cultural phenomenon. It's a huge hit, especially with Gen Z and millennials. But I've said it before, and I think Stranger Things, it's not a true to life how life was exactly in the 80s, but it's a sort of an idealized version of the 80s where everything is like synths and neon and stuff, and we love it.
Yeah. All right. And we love you guys for sticking with us throughout this finale episode. So let's go ahead and get to the final thoughts on finales in general, this journey we've been on, and maybe a couple of quick things we left out right after this. Normies Like Us.
We're back. Wrapping things up here on Normies Like Us, where we're kind of wrapping up on television. We've been talking about some finales. We're going to give our final thoughts here on some of the 3 big shows that you've been watching, we've been watching. But are there any replacements you guys would pitch now that kind of our core shows are gone for any of our normies?
What's going to fill the void? Yeah,
we had a lot of good shows on at once.
Better Call Saul's about to wrap. I'm kind of excited about that.
Show I haven't seen because I don't have access to Apple that everyone raves about is Severance. I hear that is excellent.
Severance, I watched that.
Yeah,
so
loved it. Yeah.
Oh, here's one for me. Strange New Worlds is over, and Colin's mentioned how much he likes Lower Decks, and we get Gorn in Strange New Worlds, but there's a Gorn wedding episode of Lower Decks. Like I gotta go back and maybe watch Lower Decks to fill my Star Trek void in the meantime.
Lower Decks is great.
And you Jack Quaid.
I can get my boy and my stars. Let's go. Yeah.
I do like, Lower Decks is my other new Trek, other than the Orville. That's not Trek. It's good. It's got a lot of references to different shows. It's very reference heavy and comedy heavy, but it's also got heart to it. And I think as the characters get developed more, especially in the second season, it's coming into its own for sure.
Yeah. I guess another show that had a finale is like Ozark. We're never going to cover that, but
no.
It kind of had it was like an ending that wasn't an ending, let's say. So people are kind of divided on it, but I like the show otherwise.
Yeah, I still have to catch up on that. I haven't watched the part 1 of the last season yet, so I need to catch up on that.
I finished the Umbrella Academy. That's something people could switch to if they have nothing else.
I probably won't do that, Mike. I used to love like Adult Swim style, like kind of like garbage, squiggly cartoons. And Jacob, you watch some of those, like is it called like Good Friends or whatever on HBO Max?
Oh yeah, the Happy Friends.
Is that worth it? Is that something I should kind of put time into?
I liked it. Yeah, it's good.
I saw
Harley Quinn's coming back. There's some cartoons I can kind of get into soon, maybe.
Yeah. Again, the Orville still airing. I think they've aired 5 of its episodes so far, so you can watch that week to week on Hulu.
Peaky Blinders is out now. People like that.
Peaky Blinders.
There's another show on Apple TV called For All Mankind. I haven't watched it yet, but I think I might start that one soon.
That's like the astronaut one, right?
Yeah, it's created by Ronald D. Moore, who worked on Star Trek.
We love Ronald D. Moore.
Battlestar Galactica.
Gives you real world sci-fi. It's kind of
sort of like an alternate reality, like an alternate timeline future where the Cold War is continuing to this day with the space race and everything, and lots of things happen. But I haven't watched it yet.
That's what I'll do.
Might have to start it. Yeah, Apple TV.
Cool. Yeah, in the meanwhile, we're going to be eventually continuing our Star Trek journey. Not immediately next week, but we're gonna still be doing that. So if you want to catch up, we've gotten up to the search for Spock. So listeners can do that if they haven't.
That's right.
We got that one coming out. We got a billion big movies coming out here soon. We got all the good episodes coming up.
But yeah, it's just fun to kind of just jump in and talk about these 3 big finales. And I think it's going to be hard to top that dopamine rush over the last week and a half of good TV.
Of literally getting a text from Mike of being like, I just watched Strange New Worlds. It's my favorite. 30 minutes from now, I'm watching The Boys.
Yep.
Like, great.
Crushed
We really got spoiled with all these shows being on at the same time. Yeah. Even Obi-Wan, kind of mid.
Miss Marvel, we all dabbled a little. Yeah.
Another show that I wanted to mention, I started watching yesterday on HBO, Our Flag Means Death, which is the Taika Waititi pirate show. So,
what we do on the ship
episode.
What we do on the ship.
Mike.
Exactly. Yeah.
What we do in the shallows.
Oh, good.
Oh! I've had a lot of
killing
good ones. Joja Cat's out of the bag. Snap decisions. Come on, give me a job.
We're there. It's peak.
Yes.
Oh man, I stand on the shoulders of giants and the good writing of all the shows we've talked about today. So
That's right.
it comes from
I'm gonna
them.
miss them. Yeah, that's our big point. Is that there's some good stuff. If you missed out on Normies, again, we kind of talked about the barrier of entry for some of these streaming services, how poor those streaming services are.
Yes.
Their menus.
And even maybe even stuff of like, maybe 80s nostalgia isn't your thing. I'd still recommend Stranger Things to you just for the cultural phenomenon stuff of it all that we discussed today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. So thanks for joining us on episode 201. Wow, that's pretty big. The finale, plural. And appreciate
The
it.
finale of Normies Like Us, 201.
Yeah, see you never.
Normies Like Us will return.
There we go. I like that. We will return. All right. Well, I guess that's that, guys. Let's wrap her.
So, do what you do always. Hit us up at our socials at Normie_us, where you can find all our good stuff on Instagram, YouTube. Please watch those videos. Like, share, subscribe. It helps us out. Leave a review or a comment and just say, hey, I watched those finales too. They're my favorite. Or no, I didn't see any of those shows, but you guys convinced me. We'd love to hear that too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Check out the YouTubes and all that good stuff.
Yes. And we've been your hosts. So I won't be Captain Kirk or Captain Colin Kirk.
You
this
can.
time. No. I'll be the Callander.
All right.
Nice.
Mike's and Mount. Hit it.
And this is Captain Cobb Bush. Running up that hill, Normies.
My favorite politician from the
Wow.
boys, Cobb Bush.
I
Hey.
voted for Cobb Bush.
Yeah, well, until he got his head blown up by
Please clap.
Victoria Newman. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.